Hi there, my name is Doug Hamilton, and I'm Vice President of the Squamish Man Shed chapter. I'm here today to introduce our next participant in our series, video series here. I'm going to be introducing Ken Kuhn, and his title for his talk this time is going to be Stopping Adult Abuse, Neglect, and Self-Neglect. This presentation speaks to the signs and risk factors of adults who may be experiencing or have been impacted by abuse, neglect, and self-neglect. The abuse can be financial, physical, sexual, or psychological. Ken is a Tri-City resident, spends his retirement life paying it forward on seniors' issues in positions such as coordinator for the Tri-City Seniors Action Society. He's also the regional mentor for Fraser Valley West for the BC Community Response Networks to promote elder abuse awareness. So no further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Ken, and welcome to Squamish and the Squamish Man Shed. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Doug. Pleasure to be here. So what I've got here is, what is BCCRN? It is a provincial nonprofit charity, and it was started about 27 years ago. We have 81 CRN coordinators around BC, serving 233 communities across BC. And what is our vision? Well, from the screen here, our vision is safe communities where adults are valued, respected, and free from abuse and neglect. We just recently held World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and we had CRNs across BC promoting that with various events, activities, drive-bys, etc. You probably noticed a lot of the buildings around, public buildings, bridges, etc., all colored in purple, purple lighting, and that's why I'm wearing the purple shirt today too, so as a symbol. Now, Men's Sheds, thank you very much for allowing us to do this presentation to all the men's sheds across BC and Canada. I love your vision also, that it's a safe and friendly environment where men can work on meaningful projects and to advance the well-being and health of the male members. Men sometimes get isolated, lonely, and some of us were abused earlier in our childhood. And along with that comes a lot of shame. So we're not necessarily ready to divulge and do some reporting. So today we will be discussing how to interrupt abuse and neglect of vulnerable adults before it has been reported to a designated agency. This is a pamphlet that you may see around with the BCCRN in numerous communities, and it gives you some examples of how you can get help and who to contact, etc. We're here to discuss how to interrupt abuse and neglect of vulnerable adults. Everyone has the right to be safe and free from abuse and neglect. We have a shared responsibility to create safe, strong, healthy communities. And I appreciate that Men's Sheds also value this. We're all in this together. And so the men in Men's Sheds, if we can keep that camaraderie, keep the communications open, we're all in this together. And it's important that we understand that. So today we're going to learn a little bit about ageism, some warning signs of abuse, how to respond safely and supportively, and we're all in this together. And so that's why Men's Shed can play an important role in this. And then where to get help in the community. So what is ageism? Ageism is a major factor in abuse. Discrimination against older adults because they are older, and sometimes age-related illnesses such as Alzheimer's or dementia makes it more susceptible to scams, handing over decisions in a power of attorney, or handing over banking information. And we do all have ageist attitudes. You know, sometimes we are driving along a highway and see that there's a slow driver ahead of us, and we maybe think right away, oh, it's probably an old senior. And then we get up beside them maybe, and then we notice that it's not. Maybe it was a young mother who had a very delicate cake in the back seat of her car for a birthday party. And so we need to not jump to conclusions. Let's all keep an open mind on this. When seniors are living on their own, it's often more difficult to detect abuse, and they may be more vulnerable to labor scams and telephone scams. And as we know, men, as we get older, sometimes we are living alone. And I know that my dad, when he was 85 to 88 years old, prior to him passing away, he was an intelligent man, but he, living alone, had some scams pulled on him. And I only noticed this once I, happened to need some information, and I looked in his bank book and I saw some of these checks that he was writing for, $50 or $75, because it was going to keep him in the lottery possibilities to win all this money that he could maybe leave me later on. But so it was difficult to see that. So it's important that men's sheds, the people involved, keep that communication going with their fellow members, and make sure that, we're protecting each other, because we're all in this together. Again, ageism happens when you make up your mind about a group, and prior to that happening, we go into a restaurant, we see all the kids on their phone, and we immediately probably make a comment like, "Oh, they're all on their phones," not like we did in the good old days when we just communicated with each other. So we have to be careful. So what is abuse of older adults? It's harm caused to older adults by someone who limits or controls their rights and freedoms. That's the important thing. They're limiting and control their decision making. Older adults are unable to freely make choices because they are afraid of being hurt, humiliated, left alone, or of the relationship ending. Maybe they're not going to be giving their pills or the shopping done, etc. So that's a sad part of abuse. So what is abuse? It's not that angry talk, disagreements. Abuse is much more. It's that power over somebody, that control over that adult. So that power over, so this is the misuse of power. So as you saw on the video there, someone is stronger and more powerful than the other person. It's reported about 1 in 6 are suffering from abuse. And as we know, it's underreported. There are numerous cultural groups, etc., that it's not cool to do the reporting. They just assume that I don't want to get my son or daughter, my family in trouble, so I'll just put up with it. It seems like there's so much underreporting, and as we know, there's this age group is growing larger. We have to make sure that we have programs in place. So once again, I appreciate Men's Sheds as adding this as part of this series. As Doug already mentioned, there's several forms of abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, neglect, over-medicating, financial, and quite often the abuser is someone close to the family, so it makes it more challenging to report. So what are some of the warning signs? Well, let's look at some of the warning signs. And if I tell you I am being abused, believe me. And we have to look at the different change in behavior, feeling depressed, withdrawn, they just not keeping themselves in good shape, stop attending social events, the bridge club, the church, local swim things, the yoga that they used to do. Someone suddenly moves in, didn't know that person. They don't look like their family. So just different circumstances happening. Signs of neglect such as no food in the house, or something like, oh, their phone is cut off, and things start disappearing from the house. Moving truck coming in, or different valuables being taken out of the house. And then also, bruising on the arms, injuries that are unexplainable. And when you ask about them, oh, I just bumped myself on the, the cupboards or things like that. So we have to be aware of decline in physical appearance. People who are abused need support, but also people who are abusive need help. So this is a two-edged sword. We need to interrupt this abuse. Without help or support, abuse just gets worse and worse. It ramps up. So neighbors, friends, family members can make a difference. And the same with the people who belong to men's sheds. So I'm going to show a short video here.
Are you sure you're going to be comfortable in the basement?
Yeah, there's plenty of room, Mom. Besides, your granddaughter will never be home. You're a lifesaver, Mom. I don't know what I would have done without you.
I'm sure you're going to find another job in no time.
You mind if I watch a movie? By the way, your bank card was rejected at the gas station today. It was really embarrassing.
What are you talking about?
I went to fill up my car and it wouldn't go through. It must be overdrawn or something. You better hope your check comes in this week and you're not gonna be able to get your prescriptions refilled. What are you doing?
I can't get used to the damp downstairs.
Oh, try another blanket, Mom. We're boiling up here.
I would have wished you would have asked me before you moved me into the basement.
Why do you have to be on my back, Mom? It's too dark and dingy down there. I get depressed, you know that. Complete your puzzles down there as well as you can up here.
What's for dinner, Grams? I'm starving.
That was an interesting video clip that we saw. Was it abuse? Let's see what really happened, what we saw. We saw the son and granddaughter moving in, and it was going to be only temporary. But then we saw 6 months later, they had taken over the living room. The living room was a mess compared to what it was 6 months earlier, and the son just came down, plunked the drink down on his mother's puzzle, turned the lights down, and just basically took over. And the mother sort of had to scoot off to another room. And what we saw after that was in the winter, the son had moved the mother downstairs without her permission. Wow. And so this is the power over somebody. And we also saw the whole thing about the bank card. He obviously has the banking information and the credit card. He was embarrassed. Oh my gosh. He's going to withhold her medications if it isn't rectified. So pretty serious stuff here. We as people who are trying to help and support others, let's not jump in to try and solve the problem. Let's try and gather the information and be supportive. And so one of the things I'm going to be showing you is how we can be supportive. So here's Jocelyn. Jocelyn is a friend of Maria, and she's popped in to have a little chat with Maria.
How are things going with your son being home?
Oh, I feel badly for him. He's having such a hard time of it. He and his daughter moved upstairs on the weekend.
And where does that leave you?
In the spare room.
In the basement? Oh, I am sorry, but that is going too far. You still cater to his every whim when what he really needs is a swift kick in the pants. If you don't put your foot down, he's never going to leave that couch, never mind look for a job.
So, that's the response that some of us might naturally say, he needs a kick in the pants, entitlement, etc. But Jocelyn was blaming Maria, and Maria just closed up. So Maria probably is not going to be open to having another conversation with Jocelyn. She's embarrassed, and she's somewhat protecting her son, right? And we all want to do that. We don't want them to get into trouble. So let's give Jocelyn another chance. And this is what I'd like you to notice, the supportiveness in this approach.
How are things going with your son being home?
Oh, I feel badly for him. He's having such a hard time of it. He and his daughter moved upstairs on the weekend.
And where does that leave you?
In the spare room.
In the basement? I'm worried about you. Your life has changed so much. Are you okay?
So we see that Jocelyn has left the door open to further conversations, maybe going out for coffee, going for a walk, and to help her through this. She's being supportive. She sees all the disorder in the living room. She names her concern. I'm worried about you. Your life has changed so much. She listens without judgment. And notice how she took Maria's sweater and just comforting. That's what we need to do. And she asks the question, what does she do? She's interrupting the isolation. She's helping Maria through this. We need to try and interrupt that isolation. So the isolation without any interruption increases the abuse, and it just gets deeper and deeper. And Maria's isolated. There's no way out. There's no support. So we've just seen a scenario where the son moves in. This is another very common scenario where we see abuse. So let's watch this short video.
Mom, we really need you to get here earlier.
I can't take care of the baby while getting ready for work. It's a long drive for me.
Well, we agreed that it's easier for you to come here,
And
okay?
traffic wouldn't be so bad if you left an hour sooner. Did you tell her about the schedule?
Yeah, we're gonna need you to come Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from now on.
And with the renovations, we can't afford daycare.
I'll have to see. I've got my water aerobics class on Thursday.
I'm sure there are other classes. If it's a problem, we can ask my parents, and your mother doesn't have to see her grandson at all.
You want to spend time with your grandson, don't you?
Of course I do, but
I hate to hear him crying when I'm leaving. Would you mind?
Thanks.
So we just saw another example where the grandparent is being used as a babysitter, but circumstances have changed for the son or daughter. They're doing renovations, they've got changes, they're trying to save money, and so they're expecting the grandparent to do the babysitting. And without any consideration about their schedule. And if you don't change your schedule, then we'll withdraw access to the grandchildren, which pretty abusive, right? So let's look at a supportive response to that babysitter scenario.
I've been so busy. But when you offered to buy me a latte, I couldn't refuse.
Oh, if I didn't, I'd never see otherwise. I mean, you're supposed to be retired, but you seem to have a whole other career now. Hope they pay you well.
Oh, yes. Along with my pension, I'm just rolling in it.
We miss seeing you. Aqua aerobics isn't the same without you. You happy with the way things are?
See the support? We miss seeing you at Aqua Aerobics. basically showing that support, leaving the door open for further conversations. Here's another situation. Quite often the son or daughter decide that they are going to move their parent into a retirement home, and sometimes without a lot of discussion about it. So let's watch this scenario.
Hello, Professor.
Beth, my brightest protege. Are we having lunch or is this a prison break?
Oh, this isn't so bad.
For an old folks' home, you mean? Yeah, well, ever since I signed my power of attorney over to my son, he moved his family into my house and trundled me off to this warren for the aged. I don't understand.
Is there something the matter?
It's my property taxes. They're like 2 years in arrears.
Shouldn't your son have taken care of this?
Yes, that's what I was led to believe, but oh well. Shall we?
Well, we have a reservation down the street.
Yeah.
For one. There you go. How's your son?
Well, I don't know really, because between the sailboat and the cottage and the ski trips and the Caribbean getaways, his need for me has been eclipsed.
So one of the things we first saw there is that Beth noticed that the overcoat was ripped and he was unkempt. The son hasn't kept in contact. He's too busy with the sailboat and the cottages and the Caribbean trips, etc. And now that he's signed over the power of attorney, the property taxes are 2 years in arrears. So there's concern there. We need to make sure that Beth, as a former university student, can be supportive. And let's watch how she can do that.
There you go. How's your son?
Well, I don't know really, because between the sailboat and the cottage and the ski trips and the Caribbean getaways, his need for me has been eclipsed.
I hope that he's not spending your money. Is he? You need to put your foot down.
So we see he was embarrassed. Beth, by her comments in that response, has basically shut the door. He will not want to share much in the future. So here's a better response.
There you go. How's your son?
Well, I don't know really, because between the sailboat and the cottage and the ski trips and the Caribbean getaways, his need for me has been eclipsed.
Professor, I don't want to overstep my bounds. But if there's anything that I can do to help, I'm here.
Do you see that supportive response? That's what we want. We don't want to be shutting the door with an angry, you need to put your foot down, kick in the pants, move them on. We need to make sure that that door is left open so we can continue and be supportive of that person. And that way we can stop the isolation and hopefully stop the cycle of abuse. So I have a little bit of a process that I want to help you through. So it's called Sync It. See it, name it, check it. We can all learn from that. And it's a way that we can be more supportive. So if we see it, it just doesn't seem right. It's that spidey sense that we all have. I just get a feeling that there's something wrong. You feel uncomfortable. We need to look at some of those warning signs and just look at the changes that people are going through. And then we need to name it. I'm worried about you. Talk to that person. Try to gain that support and respect. Don't jump to conclusions. Sometimes we look at some of those things that are happening, we jump to conclusions, and quite often they may be the wrong ones. So take it easy when you're going through these steps, and then check it. What can I do to help? check any of those assumptions, ask any questions to gather that more information, not pry into the family's information, but just ask proper questions. And if anyone is in immediate danger, then obviously call 911. And quite often when I give presentations, I give them with a police officer because we're on the same team. And the police officer is just going to investigate. They're not going to be breaking down the front door and trying to put them in jail. They're just there to be supportive also. The journey steps. See it, notice when something makes you feel not quite right. Name it, talk to someone, the older adult first. What are the warning signs? Name your concerns. I'm worried about you. Can I help you? Show that support. Leave that door open for further conversations in the future. And check it. Are you okay? Do you want to talk about this? And make it on their terms. It may take a little while, but we're all in this together, right? So see it, name it, check it. And that's sync it. So here are some provincial resources that we have in British Columbia. First of all, immediate danger, call 911. We also have a Seniors Abuse and Information line, the SAIL line, and that's a toll-free number. Your Fraser Health Authority, or if you're in a different province, any of the health authorities are available for help. Victim Link BC, and there's all sorts of victim services that can be contacted also. And First Nations Health Authority, if you're on First Nations property, etc. If you're in a province like Ontario, there's the Canadian Network for Prevention of Elder Abuse organization, and there's also Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario that you can contact. And throughout any of the provinces, this is available for you. So, some final thoughts. You don't have to be a hero, fix a situation. I'd rather have you use that process of sync it and be caring and be supportive to your fellow men's shed participants and keep that conversation open. It's not all about doing the building of projects, but it's the camaraderie, which is one of the vision statements that men's shed have. And you have the power to make the difference. So, I'd like to thank the audience for being here today, and I wish you well, and let's all remember that we're in this together to stop adult abuse and neglect. Thank you very much. So if we have any questions from the audience now.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It's been very interesting and informative and eye-opening. A lot of the abuse that occurs is abuse that could be dealt with and approached over a period of time. But occasionally there are probably cases where, particularly in terms of financial concerns, financial abuse, where something needs to be done quickly, maybe immediately. What should we do in those cases?
Good question. So what has been developed is something called the decision tree that we see on the screen now. And again, if the adult is in immediate danger or harm, we're going to call 911. And if that's not the case, then someone who needs to seek assistance can be contacting something like the Seniors Abuse and Information line and gathering some information there, or the non-emergency police number. But as you mentioned, if someone is being abused financially or some assets are at risk of being lost, then there's an organization called the Public Guardian and Trustee. And they have the expertise, they have the manpower to go and investigate. And if there's powers of attorney or things like that that need to be investigated, they have the expertise. So the Public Guardian and Trustee are there for financial matters. And for non-financial matters, designated agencies such as a health authority can be contacted, as well as the CRN committee or coordinator in your community. They have information on all of these contacts, and they can help you out. That, as you saw earlier, the website that we have in BC is BCCRNS.ca, and all of the contact information is on that website. So thank you very much for your question.
If I can have a follow-on question, it's slightly different. Could you summarize a sort of step-by-step approach to what I should do if I suspect elder abuse occurring?
So, good question. So that refers back to what I was talking about before with the SYNC it. The S stands for see it, the N for name it, the C for check it. So, see it. You know, we have to be able to identify that something's different. It's that spidey sense that's gone into there's something wrong, and we need to ask some questions about it. And then name it. Are you okay? You know, I see that you need some support. So we want to leave that door open. And then to check it. Make sure that we're gathering all the facts. We're not jumping to conclusions, but we're there as a supportive person. And that's what we can do here with Men's Sheds. With the conversations that you have, maybe while you're having a coffee or a beer after you're working on a project, you get to know your fellow people who are in your community of Men's Sheds, and you can be that supportive person.
Great talk so far there, Ken. I do have a couple of questions. In light of some of the dramatic media we've been seeing, so I'm sure some people wonder, if I call the police on a family member who's abusing me, will they be sent to jail, and any ramifications that may come out around that? Can you explain from your experience how procedures are being carried out in these days?
Well, again, from one of the previous slides about the decision tree, if someone is in immediate danger, yes, the police will intervene and remove that person from the home. But their goal is certainly not to put them in jail, etc. And quite often when I give this presentation, it's with a police officer or a health authority person, because we're all on the same team. We want to interrupt that abuse that is happening. We want to stop that isolation, and if we can be part of the same team and come up with a solution. So when the police are called, they may knock on the door and basically just try to gather information. If the person is not in immediate danger of harm. And they're probably going to do that investigation, gather more information over the next little while, but certainly their main goal is not to put someone in jail. Their main goal is to interrupt that abuse. And so they're on our team. And that's why, Men's Sheds, this is important that the men out there who see this video can be part of the solution. We can gather this. We're part of breaking that abuse. And even in your conversations while you're working, you may find one of the men is going through some difficult times. So remember, SYNC it. We want to keep that door open for further conversations.
Thanks. That's very informative, Ken. Just to wrap things up, a couple of questions we like to run by all our serious speakers. And first of all, why do you think this topic of yours is so important? And on top of that, why do you think the Men's Shed series is important to this topic? Could you comment on that?
Well, this is a great series. Men who are interested in seniors issues. You have a wide scope of Men's Sheds all across Canada. If we can get this message out, it's really important, as there are more and more seniors suffering from abuse. As I said earlier, 1 in 6 that are reported, but as we know, there's way more that are not reported. And so if we can help with those open conversations and trying to interrupt that abuse. And the series that you're running here on all sorts of important issues, it's great. And I'm glad that Men's Shed has taken this initiative to spread the word on some of the concerns and problems that we as seniors go through. So hats off to Men's Sheds for that. And what we're trying to do here is we've got lots of swag here, and so we're trying to shine a light on senior abuse. So thank you very much for that question.
Well, thank you very much, Ken, for coming out and speaking. You've been very, very informative. And as a little appreciation from the Man Shed of Squamish, I would like to present you with a certificate of appreciation.
Well, thank you very much.
And hope you post it on your wall there. And a little extra here, we have a really gourmet chocolate company in Squamish that produces excellent chocolate. We'll give you that as a little token of appreciation.
What a bonus.
Well, thanks once again for coming all the way.
Well, thank you very much.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully we'll be talking again.
Excellent.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.